Now, Ibeno has long stood at the front lines of oil exploration in Nigeria and perhaps at the margins of its benefits as local voices grow louder about pollution, displacement, and declining livelihoods. The question is what can be done to balance economic extraction with environmental dignity? Our team visited Iwochang, and on that visit, residents bared their minds regarding their experiences. These things raise questions about what is really going on with the efforts that have been put in place to cater for the well being of oil bearing communities. Is the PIA working at all? Why are complaints still renting the air? Here's some of the concerns they raised.
New thing now and put it on the roof because of the flare. The thing will not last. After 1 or 2 years, you see that thing becoming old and rotten. All those things happen, and the oil company refused to pay compensation so that the fishermen and the farmers could use the
no so onye panga iwogira if no puse nyongoro ngangu ko se make it ke fru come ama panga ma yakanye alcohol
the net where this thing spoil, all this one, all our net where we use fishery, all this one, you see and where the oil they spoil.
They now say that yes, the UDOM has confirmed that the new map has been drawn, that even here you are sitting down here, this beach, they claim that it's own, they own it, that we should. So the matter is in the court as I'm talking to you.
Well, those are some of the concerns. But then we would like to know what these efforts that the governments continually speak of, that they have put in place, what dividends have they yielded? We have joining us now to help unpack the situation. Hope that that still lingers in Ibeno. An organization development consultant, Obong Marvel Essien, joins us live on the program. You're welcome on the program. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Sylvia.
Welcome to Niger Delta Today.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Well, I would like to take the first shot because this time around I had a first-hand experience in Ibeno, Iwochang, as well as Yerikon. Now, I went to those communities, met with the people, and interacted with them as to the situation of things. There has been cases of oil spillage and gas flaring. Even on our way there, we were met with some exposed gas scenarios in those communities. The people breathe that, the people live with that day in, day out. The PIA, wasn't the PIA meant to have resolved a number of these crises being experienced by the oil-producing communities?
Jennifer, the PIA is an act that was made to solve problems, but we have witnessed it bringing up more problems in itself because of how the PIA was construed in terms of the politics in it, in terms of the ambiguities inside the PIA, and in terms of other things that even you look at the capacity part of it, that is, who are the people that are going to implement the PIA, how far with their capacity building to be able to handle the matters arising from understanding interpretation of the law to say it can be operated seamlessly. So the PIA in itself has thrown up more problems surrounding these issues. I'm glad that you took a first step, you've taken a step to go there by yourself, to see situation by yourself, because a lot of people, when they read news about the suffering, about the degradation, environmental degradation in the Niger Delta, they would not understand what it is. Added to that, if you were to see the Niger Delta region, especially that Ibeno area, about 40 years ago, then you would understand the impact of environmental degradation. I saw one of those people you interviewed speaking about the roofing of their buildings, and these are real issues. If you have visited that place, taken pictures, go back there in the next 1 year and witness some of those things, some of those environmental environments, and see how it is today. You think about the vegetation, how it was. You think about even the fishing, farming, the fish farm that would have brought them the kind of economic benefits that that area even was depending on the kind of fish we call ibat. They have various types of fish that you don't even have such species of fish in the market these days. So there are some fish that has been completely extinguished from
Well, Obong Marvel
the
Essien,
area of
we've seen corroded rooftops, we've seen all of these hazards, poisoned farmlands, and the people bitterly complaining. But in the midst of all of this, IOCs who are continually operating in these communities, and the PIA, I understand, was supposed to also cater for regulating the activities of the IOCs while simultaneously taking care of the host communities. Do you think that the implementation process, especially when we talk about the PIA and how it relates to catering for communities of this nature that are suffering, has been able to address the issues that it was meant for? And what steps were supposed to be taken that are yet to be taken towards ensuring that some of these complaints are laid to rest?
That is the reason you would see that the human rights activists that are always at loggerheads with the governments, the IOCs, and these people that are accountable for the degradation. I think a few weeks back you hear the Petroleum Ministry talking about begging some of these oil servicing companies to come back. Those servicing companies that are in charge of project implementation, that are in charge of building the facilities in the offshore area. That means that we cannot, it has even affected the oil exploration activities in the Niger Delta region. But beyond that, you could also see that when we talk about oil spills, what is the reason, what is the cause of these oil spills? It's basically that, you know, pipe vandalization is part of it. But of course, the maintenance of these pipelines, the maintenance of these equipment that are used for exploration are also accountable for this. Okay,
Obong Marvel, we'll hold your, the conversation with you for a moment as we'll try to connect with someone, a spokesperson for the Ibeno People, and advocate, Barrister Diamond Akpanika, joining us virtually. Good afternoon, Barrister. Barrister Diamond, can you hear us? Okay, we are looking at the situation of activities in Ibeno local government area. Being an oil community, there are so many expectations from the people, from the government, from the international oil companies, and even the federal government. And with the conversation about the PIA, with hopes high and expectations that this might bring some level of succor following the exploration of oil in the Niger Delta region, especially in Ibeno, the people haven't, to some extent, seen the impact in the community, with complaints about adverse effect on the health of the people, as well as adverse effect on the roofs and also the occupation. Barrister Diamond Akpanika, can you bring us up to speed with what the people have done so far to ensure that the government's attention is drawn to the people of Ibeno local government area following oil and gas issues?
Oh, thank you very much for this conversation. To tell you the truth, we have been at the receiving end of the harsh effect of oil exploration activities in our communities. The community is blessed, but from the activities of the oil companies, the blessing, so to say, has turned out to be a curse for most of us in the communities. It's not even peculiar to Ibeno alone, even though our own situation is pathetic as well. So we've been speaking out. We speak out to the government. But the funny thing is that it appears as though the government itself is complicit in the matter. The government, most times, even the governors,
Well, I think we're having that issue again. But then, Obong Marvel, there seems to be this ongoing blame game. You see this person refusing to take responsibility for the issues that are on ground in communities that suffer oil exploration and the devastating effects. What steps do you think that can actually be taken towards ensuring that persons who are responsible for these acts of exploration are held accountable and they actually follow through?
You see, you said we were all excited when we were discussing the PIA and thinking that when the PIA comes out, it would be able to solve a lot of problems relating to oil exploration activities and the effect on human lives in the the area, especially in the Niger Delta where these activities are being carried out. But today, a lot of politics in it, and you do not really have government playing the kind of role that government should be playing because of their interest in how to increase the oil production. So you see compromises here and there. Like I talked about, majorly the legal framework itself is flawed. So if we can get back and sit down at the table and really look at these issues and see how we can engage the communities themselves and we can engage the people that are really involved in these exploration activities, we would have a way of setting standards. For example, if you want to engage in oil exploration activities in these areas, you should be able to see how we could ensure that regulatory agencies ensure that the equipments that you are going to use for the exploration activities are such that are modern enough to be able to mitigate against these oil activities. And even the government's role in having this cleanup exercise, the period of cleanup exercise, that government should ensure that it's done the way it should be done. These are things that ordinarily you would have thought that, for instance, if you have a vehicle, you have a program, you say when this vehicle runs 500 kilometers or 1,000 kilometers, it is due for this and that. We should have a situation where standards are set and operated upon. Until we address our systemic problem that has to do with governance, we will still be having these challenges. We see the communities suffering as much as they do, and sometimes they don't really have the voice to speak to those that matter, to understand the issues. Like your team went there to see things firsthand. They'll be able to witness what is really going on. They may be able to appreciate the problems that are there in these all areas. Like Akpanika said, that it is not just Ibeno area. You see, it's extensive. It's not just, Ibeno is just 26 villages, gazetted villages, that makes up that local government. But it goes beyond Ibeno area to the other areas, from the Mbo area to Eastern Obolo area and other areas, even extending hinterland to Ikorobasi and even a Kate urban area. The effect of this pillage and oil flaring gets that far. And when it comes to the area that it is really affecting human life, because you cannot really take away the fact that these emissions comes with toxins that has been said to even be causing cancer in people's, in the human system. How would anybody neglect that fact and allow things to run the way they are running? It is for government to set up modalities and see how we can set up when it comes to regulatory.
Okay, Barrister Diamond Akpanika, as we begin to wind down the conversation, let's know of what, if there has been some interactions with the oil companies with regards to the adverse effect their activities has had on the people, and if there has been some form of compensation or activities they have carried out to ensure that these issues are alleviated for the people.
you can be sure that around the communities, we have always made serious attempts to speak with the companies that are involved in this, activities. But most of the time, the companies themselves are aggressive. Most of the time, when there is oil spillage, they will shift blame. You cannot tell which particular company is responsible for the oil spillage most of the time. So you will find one company denying and telling you the oil is not from their specification. The specification does not, disclose that it is their oil. And then the next company will say the same thing and all of that. And so we find ourselves in a situation where they'll have to go bring in, agents who take the oil. But these agents are also under the control of the company. So those are the kind of difficult situations we find ourselves.
All right.
Now, the government is not also helping issues. The government most times rely on funding from, the oil companies.
What are you expecting the government to do, please, in just 30 seconds?
Sometimes, the government should be able to speak, is in place to also speak, with the oil companies, because if the locals cannot have access or get the ears of the oil companies, of course, a governor of a state has the power to summon the companies and they will appear. But most times you don't find the government doing that.
All right.
And let me also say that even the 13% derivation that comes to Akwa Ibom State, I think we aim the highest in this country. If you go down to Akwa Ibom State, you find that the money is being spent to beautify the city center. The money is spent on road construction across Akwa Ibom State. Then if you go down to places like Eastern Ogono, like Ibon, or like Igbo, you don't even find any part of that money. The real health center in Uyo, then you go to the oil communities where you have the harsh effect, the climate condition, the biodiversity that we do, and all of that. You don't find anything there.
Well, Barrister Diamond Akpanika, spokesperson Ibeno People, we'll thank you for coming on the program. This way would live it, but then we'll try as much as possible to follow up these conversations and see how the stakeholders involved can respond effectively and positively to the issues affecting the Ibeno people. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much for the platform. We look forward to speaking with you as often as possible.
All right.
Thank
Obong
you.
Marvel Essien, Organization Development Consultant. Thank you for sharing your ideas on the program this afternoon.
My pleasure.
Yeah. That's the size of Niger Delta today. We thank you for being with us. Catch us again tomorrow for another fresh edition. My name is Xavier Robert, wishing you a terrific afternoon.
And I am Jennifer Pius. Thanks for being a part. Have a great day.